This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6, and it reads, And ye shall hear of wars, rumors of wars. See, there should be not trouble, for all these things must first come to pass, but then it's not yet. Matthew 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. And this is the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Wakakadash, and the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'ashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. The Lashkadash, the Holy Tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, while Akim or Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of the of this recent news article and the World War III news updates as of February 28th, 2026 on this Saturday morning. And, as we've been seeing especially for the past couple of weeks, almost close to a month now, you've been seeing, the rise in tensions, increasing warnings that we've been seeing. The tensions have been heating up between Iran and Israel Defense Force, because these are arch enemies. Israel versus Iran. The tensions have been heating up, and especially as of last year, what that tensions heating up. A 12-day war between Iran and Israel Defense Force last year. Now the tensions are heating up once again. Now you got this news article from RT.com, published February 28th, 2026, and it reads, it says Israel strike Iran at West Jerusalem. It says a defense minister Katz has claimed the attack is intended to remove threats to the small hat state. It says the IDF has launched a preemptive strike on Iran for national security reasons. The Israeli defense minister Israel Katz has announced, because you've been having Israel Defense Force. They've been itching to do a strike against Iran. So that shows you that they are arch enemies. Especially Iran versus the Defense Force. Has announced the warnings of the population of an expected retaliatory strike. Right, because you're gonna have potentially, the pro-Iranian groups. They might potentially do a strike against the Israel Defense Force and their allies, especially over there in the Mediterranean Sea. Especially over there in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza Strip, the West Bank, Palestinian territory, and over there in the Mediterranean Sea, over there in the Arabian Sea as well too. As the tensions heating up between Iran and Israel Defense Force, it says in a statement cited by several local media outlets early on Saturday, Katz has said that the attack sought to remove threats against the state of Israel, adding that authorities are imposing a nationwide state of emergency due to the right, because you might potentially have some strikes from the pro-Iranian groups, Hezbollah and the proxy groups and the pro-Iranian groups. They potentially might do some airstrikes in central and southern of Israel, and over there near Tel Aviv, and over there in the Golden Heights, because you've been having Israel Defense Force. They've been on high alert, for the past couple of years and recently, as they potentially once again they would have another multi-front war against Iran, against the pro-Iranian groups and their allies. It says to expect a missile and drone strikes on the country's population in the immediate future. It says a senior defense official told the Israeli Channel 13 that this is a joint Israeli attack, which sides has been planning for months. An unnamed U.S. official later confirmed to the Wall Street Journal that the American military was participating in the attack. RT footage from Tehran shows two large plumes of smoke raised over their buildings in Iran's capital. It says Israeli Channel 12 claims that the strikes were aimed at dozens of regime targets, with the unconfirmed media reports suggesting that one of the attacks has been launched at an Iranian presidential facility. The Israeli military of transportation announced that the nation's airspace has been closed for civilian flights, scratching that the safeties and security of the passengers are top priority. The strikes comes less than 40 hours after the latest rounds of Iran-U.S. talks over Tehran's nuclear program has failed to produce a breakthrough. Right, because keep this in mind, because you had Iran was unwilling to give up their nuclear capability. And then you had a recent report that came out from the IEA. They recently made latest updates about the Iranian enrichment of nuclear capability was up to like 60% and close to like 90% of created a nuclear capability. It says, as I add a side note to that, and you had its defense force in the United States look at that as a threat to of their allies and their, a threat between the Israel Defense Force and the United States. It says that the U.S. has demanded that Iran dismantle its nuclear infrastructure, which Iran was unwilling to give up that. It says that put limits on its ballistic missiles program and it ceased to support for 144 called Lawyer Bashamasha for support for regional allies. Iran has insisted that it will only discuss nuclear issues and sought after lifting of international sanctions. Although as of right now, these recent airstrikes from the United States and the Israel Defense Force campaign, it seems like that's kind of out the window right now. It says also maintain it is not seeking to acquire nuclear weapons, while the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Garaski hailed what is described as a progress as it talks. He said that the U.S. must drop its excessive demands. U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, indicated that he is not happy with the fact that Iran are not willing to give up what they will to have. It says that the strike marks the second major Israeli military campaign against Iran less than a year during a 12-day war in June of 2025. A country bombed Iranian militaries and nuclear facilities in a surprise attack. It says killing prompted military commanders and officials and nuclear scientists. The U.S. later joined the conflict, striking 3 Iranian nuclear sites, including the deep underground enrichment facilities in Fordow. Washington claims that at the time that the Islamic Republic nuclear program has been completely derailed, though officials in Tehran insist that this was not the case. Yep, bring that once again. This is Joel chapter 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right the arms of the other nations. Prepare war, wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near. Writing this with the prophet Joel was mentioned that the Heavenly Father's putting that warlike mindset. These are arms of nations. And that's what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. The rise and uptick and increasing of wars, the rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Disgrace of nations will perplex you, rich one. Joel 3 and verse 10, beat your plowshares and the swords and the pruning hooks and the spears, and let the weak sound strong. Right, let the weak sound strong. Of these are arms of nations. Now that's why you had the Israeli officials. They was warning that they closed their airspace because they potentially, in the near future, potentially might be a retaliation strike from the pro-Iranian groups might target areas over there in central Israel and southern Israel, over there in Tel Aviv, over there in Golden Heights, and different parts over there in Israel, as the Israel Defense Force did a pre-emptive strike in those military sites over there, and a presidential military palace, I believe, over there in Tehran. So now we're going to see what Iran is going to do. We already know what the pro-Iranian, the pro-Iranian groups and the rebel groups and the proxy groups. We already know what they're going to do. Most likely, they're going to use airstrikes in those military bases over there in Iraq and Syria, and then over there in the Mediterranean Sea and over there in the Red Sea. So anybody that's affiliated with the United States and the Israel Defense Force armies, the pro-Iranian groups on standby to potentially once again do some airstrikes against the Israel Defense Force, Great Britain, and the United States with their armies over there, the border over there in the Mediterranean Sea, and then over there in the Persian Gulf. So we definitely seeing tensions are really heating up once again. So best believe, expect to see the pro-Iranian groups. They're going to respond with some potential strikes against the Israel Defense Force armies over there in the Golden Heights, over there in Iraq and Syria, and over there in the Mediterranean Sea as well too. And expect to see the Israel Defense Force using airstrikes over there, the Houthi rebels once again, because they are in solidarity with the Houthi rebels. Iran and the proxy groups and the Dragons of Arabia. They are going to be teaming up together, going against the Israel Defense Force and their allies. Yep, Joel 3 and verse 10, beat your plowshares and swords and plenty hooks and spears after we sound strong. Right, so best believe we're going to see some strikes in southern Syria, over there in central Israel, southern Israel, and over there in Tel Aviv. So expect to see more airstrikes over there, potentially going to in retaliation of those preemptive strikes that the United States and Israel did. A campaign preemptive strike from the United States and Israel against Iran. So best believe the pro-Iranian groups, they're going to respond back against the United States armies and the Israel Defense Force armies, especially over there in the Mediterranean Sea. It says, beat your plowshares and the swords and the plenty has sent the spears and let the weak sound strong. It's the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun, and the moon, and the stars, and upon the earth disgrace of nations with plexi rich warren. Right, so as we're seeing, disgrace of nations with plexi rich warren. And this is the prophet Jeremiah. This is the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 51, and verse 46. And they shall her faint ye fear for the rumor that she heard in the land, and a rumor shall come both 1 year after that, and another year shall come a rumor by his land ruler against ruler. Right, so that's what we're seeing. Mighty ruler against mighty ruler. It's like that was happening the days of Jeremiah. We're in those other days once again. So we're seeing modern day ruler against modern ruler. We're seeing nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, wars and rumors, wars heating up, and especially the tensions are heating up once again between Iran and Israel Defense Force. And this is Matthew 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, which goes to Ethnos, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 9. It says, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not just end by. Right, so on a day-to-day basis that Yahushua spoke about in red letter of the Gospel, Luke 20, verse 9, we're going to be seeing the uptick of increasing of wars and commotions. It's not gonna end just yet. I mean, it's gonna come to pass, but it's not gonna end just yet. End by. It says things to come. Luke 21 and verse 10. Then say ye unto them, nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Right, so nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And this is the book of Matthew 12 and verse 25. It says, and Yahushua knew their thoughts, and he say unto them, every kingdom divided itself is brought to death and desolation. Every city or house divided itself shall not stand. Right, and that's what we're seeing. It's the book of Revelations 11 verse 14. The second will pass, behold the third will come in quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold the third will come in quickly. Armageddon one. So as it says again, Israel strikes Iran, West Jerusalem reports. And it says February 28th, 2026, it reads, World News from RT.com. It says that Israeli declares nationwide emergency after strikes on Tehran. The announcement comes as West Jerusalem carried out what is described as a preemptive strike on the Iranian capital. Israel has declared a nationwide state of emergency following what it has officially described as a preemptive strike on Tehran in the midst of fears of retaliation. Right, many fears of retaliation. That's from the pro-Iranian groups. It says the announcement comes shortly after Defense Minister Israel Katz has said that the Israel Defense Force has conducted what is called a preemptive strike on Iran, highlighting that the retaliatory missiles and drone strikes against Israel are expected in the near future. It says in the last few minutes, sirens across the country, accompanied by advanced alerts sent directly to mobile devices instructing residents to remain near protected space. The IDF says a new home front commander guidelines has been issued in Israel banning educational activities, public gatherings, and workplace attendance, with expectations for any essential service. The military service that the proactive alert is intended to prepare for public and potential launch of missiles at Israel. Early Saturday, the local media cited Katz as saying that the strike was intended to remove threats against the state of Israel. A senior defense officials told the Israeli Channel 13 that this is a joint Israeli-American attack, which the sides have been planning for months. A U.S. official speaking on the condition anonymity later confirmed that to the Wall Street Journal that the American military was involved in the operation. The Israeli Channel 12 claimed that the strikes were aimed at dozens of regime targets, with unconfirmed media reports suggesting that one of the attacks had been launched at a Iranian presidential facility. Video circulating on social media shows large plumes of smoke rising over the buildings in the Iranian capital. 3 explosions occurred in Tehran, it says, according to the local news farce of Mekar, if I pronounced that right, reports that several rockets landed on the university streets and the Jamhuriyet district is a central square in Tehran near the residence of the Iranians leaders Saladabad Palace. See some live updates possible. Yep, it says as of February 28th, 2026, 7:42 GMT, U.S. forces have begun a military operation against Iran. President Trump confirms a video post on Truth Social. He said that the aim of the operation was to protect the American people by eliminating what it described as a threat posed by the Iranian government. He said that a major combat operation against Iran was aimed at its nuclear and missiles program, and added that Taiwan will never obtain a nuclear weapon. Another update: the current attack on Iran will be far. Spend that one. Got this. Okay. It says the attack on Iran will be far larger in the scale of the U.S. strikes on Islam Republic nuclear facilities in June last year. It says American facilities told the New York Times that the strikes were reported to have come after U.S. President expressed dissatisfaction with the progress of negotiations of Iran's nuclear program. Another update: Tehran is preparing retaliatory measures, and its response will be devastating, the Iranian officials told Reuters. Farhad Lamar, a lecturer at the Higher School of Economics and a specialist on Iran's in the Middle East, said Israel's strike on were similar to the June 12 verse 13 attack last year. On the eve of those events, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a new round of negotiations with Tehran, and the following day that Israel struck Iran. he posts on his Telegram channel. The same thing is happening today. That Avermevo, a regular RT contributor, added. It says Israel carried out what it describes a preemptive strike on Tehran and a number of other Iranian sites, fully aware that Iran will respond. He posted, and if Iran responds, the Americans will step in and negotiate. The negotiation will be over. U.S. defending American people by striking Iran, Trump has said. Check out some more news websites. Check out the Time of Israel. It says Trump indicates that the goal of Iran's strike is to topple regime, tells the Iranians the hour of your freedom is at hand. It says explosions across Iran as U.S.-Israel attacks. The Israelis had to stay near safe rooms, report claimed Iranian ministry targeting the Israeli and Iranian airspace closed. It says strikes on Iran is to target homes of senior officials and military figures. Ministry reports Iran target. It says Iran targeted with cyber attacks as Israel, U.S. carried attacks. All right, let's check out some more updates. Yep, this is from the Politico. U.S. and Israel launched strikes on Iran, published 1 hour ago. It says Aviv visions of Ethiopia, including a seaport of Eritrea. Some see a looming conflict. Yep, wars, rumors of wars. With that. It says protests persist at Iran's colleges as raising tensions as U.S. military threat looms. It says from Spy Talk, February 27. It says Trump and Iran at a potential world-changing crossroads. Let's check out the Jerusalem Post. It says U.S. and Israel launch attack on Iran, blast heard near Tehran as Kamali moves to a secure location. Trump confirms that the U.S. operation entails the IRGC to lay down arms. Of course, that's not going to happen. It says Israel entered state of emergency. Security officials operations planned months, times weeks ago. Operation Shield of Judah. Israel launched a strike and against Iran sirens sound nationwide. It says Trump confirms U.S. operation and vows to eliminate the threat. And Israeli officials told Reuters that the operation was planned for months and its time was set several weeks ago. Kamali moves to a secure location as Israel U.S. launch attack on Iran. Mossad launches Telegram channel for all that something else. Iran is prepared for retaliation attack, vows to crush response to Israeli U.S. attacks. Yep, wars and rumors of wars heating up. check out some, see if there's any more updates.
Loaded. Pay less. Game more.
It says Iranian officials says Tehran is preparing for a retaliation Russia response. Iranian officials say Tehran is preparing for a retaliation attack following a U.S. combined surprise attack on Iran on this Saturday. U.S. strikes are being carried out in air, sea, officials say. The U.S. strike against Iran is being carried out by air and sea, the U.S. officials told Reuters on Saturday. It says the U.S. involved in Israeli strikes against military targets and military threats in Tehran. The strikes are likely to continue as the day progresses. Yep, wars and rumors of wars heating up.
This is Elton taught first grade for 13 years in KKT. Survived by a husband and 2 boys who just developed 10. By all accounts, an ordinary life. Well lived. Cut short.
This is the book of Revelations 11 verse 14. Yep, Revelation 11 verse 14. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. So hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying of the World War III news updates as of February the 28th, 2026 on this Saturday. As it says again, U.S. Israel launched strikes against, Israeli U.S. strikes against Iran. It says U.S. defending American people by striking Iran. Israel strikes Iran, West Jerusalem reports. Israel declares national emergency after strikes on Tehran. So best believe they were saying that Iran, they're going to respond decisively and destructively, while the pro-Iranian groups on standby as well too. So best believe they're going to be using strikes, which they did previously over there in Syria, over there in the Golan Heights, and over there in the Mediterranean Sea, over there in the Persian Gulf, over there in that area, So best believe they're going to do some strikes in central Israel and southern Israel, as those airspace was closed from the Israelis, and then they was in a state of emergency, was been declared as well too, as they told the citizens to evacuate, because they saying most likely it's going to be a retaliation strike, especially most likely from the pro-Iranian groups. So they're gonna be trying to target over there in the the airports over there in Tel Aviv, and over there in Tel Aviv, and over there in central and southern of Israel, and northern parts of Israel as well too. Now that you had this surprising attack from a preemptive strike campaign, the United States and Israel against Iran, as the supreme leader Atali is in a secure location. He was saying that most likely it's going to be a decisive strike. It's going to be destructive. So we're going to see how that plays out. But yeah, in the meantime, the tensions are really heating up between the Israel Defense Force versus Iran as an uprising attack of Israel launch against Iran. So with that, hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying of the World War III news updates as of February the 28th, 2026 on this Saturday morning. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Karkadash, and the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash, the Holy Tongue. And I said, Barakathon to the elders and apostles, wa Akim, wa Akwa. Until next time, I say Shalom.